the Celeste being picked up by G2, and this is one. It can lead to one of the strongest compositions G2 has ever played, where they have Hondor carrying with two supporting characters like the Lance and like the Finn, like the Arden, like the Lyra, even Grace Open. They can build a composition to play to their win conditions that they know how to play to very well.
Taking Grace off of the board here, deciding they don't want that one for themselves. They want to deny that combination alongside a Blackfeather, and now have to decide how they're going to support this Celeste. And
I mentioned Cruel up against Blackfeather. That's not going to be going through because they just banned it.
Yeah, and so now the choices left are, you can still see the Arden, the Finn, the Fortress. There's still a lot of options that G2 could pick up as the sort of utility to go around G2. I'm actually really surprised that they didn't take the Lance, because, again, that's one that Dark Potato can run, too, if need be. But they wanted the Finn. They want to have that extra pressure. It is a nice combo you can set up. A Forced Accord into a Core Collapse can really devastate a team with a Quibble on top of it.
In some ways, though, the Finn kind of enables you to pick the Lance as a final pick, because your opponent ain't going to pick a Lance when they're going into a Finn. So it's a difficult situation for SaltyPotatoes.
It's possible. If G2 gets Celeste, Lance, and Finn, that's going to be tough for SaltyPotatoes to play against. At the same time, though, Finn, because his weak early game allows for Blackfeather to scale, we could see Blackfeather scaling, then being able to dive on Celeste late game and just killing her without too much competition being thrown back. Vox gets picked up. This is a laner that's going to be able to apply a lot of pressure, but it doesn't do too great against Celeste because she can outrange him later on once she gets to her level 8.
Yeah, this is just a comfort pick situation for Sneaky. The Vox, Kestrel, Blackfeather. It's really those three picks are the only ones. They do take the Lyra, so they will have a definite sustain advantage on the side of SaltyPotatoes, but can they turn that into anything beyond that? Obviously, in the early game, it can really help out. Book of Eulogies, along with a Sigil, can keep you topped up in the lane for a very long time.
Lyra also great for enabling your carries to get onto that backline Celeste.
That's exactly what I was going to say. What SaltyPotatoes are going to be looking to do here is, first, use your poke advantage before Celeste gets to level 8. Blackfeather is going to be in the jungle. He's going to be leveling faster than Celeste. Once he gets to level 8, they can go up to lane. They can get a lot of poke, and with Lyra sustain, they can apply that for a longer time. And then later on, when they get to the team fights, they have the portal to just engage on Celeste. So it's going to be a mixture of poking, then just diving on the backline and trying to kill Celeste.
Now, I'm curious about what you guys think of the Glaive final locking, because we were kind of expecting this like double support composition. Glaive, not typically that much of a supportive character.
I actually really like the Glaive because, as we were just talking about, where the strategy for SaltyPotatoes is going to be to go in and, poke and harass that Celeste before she hits level 8 and gets the big range upgrade. Glaive can kind of help the Celeste out through the early game and say, okay, I'm going to rotate up to the lane and make a gank. An afterburn into a Core Collapse, that's a guaranteed kill early on, especially if you have a Finn who's going to be likely to babysit the lane because he doesn't have the mobility to be rotating into the jungle a lot. So the Glaive is just, I think, really strong to help shore up the early game and get that Celeste to the late game power spike.
So it's almost like a bridge to get Celeste online, as opposed to protecting her once you get to that late stage with the Celeste. We'll see whether G2 can pull it off. It's certainly something that they've been known to do in the past. And Dark Potato, when he gets on these aggressive weapon power junglers, he knows how to take over a game.
And I think that is something they're going to try to use for their advantage. Glaive ganks are extremely potent, especially this update, because you don't have a lot of sustain. If you manage to get, even if you don't get a kill, if you manage to push out the laner where he's forced to go back, you can get a lot of turret damage. I think G2's comp is a lot easier to execute just because SaltyPotatoes are going to need to be very precise in how they execute during different points in the game where they need to know, okay, this is the time where we're going to go up and poke. This is the time where we're just going to engage. I think it's going to be too difficult, and I think G2 are going to play something that they're comfortable to just protect Hondor and let him carry.
All right, well, we'll see whether they can protect Hondor or whether we're going to see these hard engages coming out from the Lyra, from the likes of SaltyPotatoes, trying to force the issue and jump onto that Hondor. Let us know at home who you want to take this series. It's one apiece right now between G2 and SaltyPotatoes, and it's time to get into game.
Thank you very much. Game 3 of this series, SaltyPotatoes managing to bring it back in Game 2. However, looking at the board, the Halcyon Fold, we do see that G2s have adjusted their draft and are running something far more typical of the 2.8 update.
Yes, and on the other side, SaltyPotatoes look to be going going with CP Blackfeather in the jungle. We were talking about whether or not it might be double weapon power, but it looks like they will be varying up their damage type and deciding to go with a different composition.
Yeah, so when you talk about double weapon power, double crystal power compositions, it feels like double weapon power with tension bow tends to be far more effective than double crystal power due to the ability to burst a squishy target. Hundor on this Celeste is a very squishy target, however has a very strong front line to protect him. I'm almost convinced that the only way SaltyPotatoes wins this game is if they go double weapon power rather than taking the crystal power Blackfeather in. There was a moment of hesitation at the beginning of the game. I saw Joker, he purchased one crystal bit and then nothing else, almost as if it was a mistake. And it wasn't until 10 seconds later he finished a second crystal bit. So I don't know if the original plan was that and he's made a mistake. Clearly, that is just tiny little details, and maybe I'm reading far too deep into them here, Source. But I feel like G2's composition should be able to outrange, outpoke, and outsustain SaltyPotatoes.
Definitely as the game goes on, but not right now. Hunter is under some huge pressure off the Resonance and just a poke coming out from Class. So, giving them a little bit of an early advantage. Quick back for Sneaky, picks up a little bit more damage, and we use that to continue to try and pressure out the lane.
See exactly what kind of shenanigans comes out. Already shielding picked up by Joker, respecting Hundor's ability to do damage when he goes in for ganks. If he dives on in, becomes that melee threat that the Blackbird can become, then he needs to be able to survive against the core collapse. Quibble comes out, so a bit of shielding can definitely help with that. As soon as Hundor hits level 8, he's going to have a huge range advantage over Sneaky, and he's going to use that to set up Helogenesises on the Halcyon Fold and just really pressure Sneaky's ability to get close with his short attack range.
Yeah, and for that, SaltyPotatoes is definitely looking to get that lane taken care of, take down that first tower before level 8 comes up, if they can, because that'll give them a little bit more space to maneuver around the map and let the Joker kind of dictate the pace of some of these fights.
Currently, Dark Potato in the lane, not quite able to find a afterburn gank. Dark Potato showing his face meant that the Joker instantly rotated up to equalize the power. Dead, Joker moves on to try and secure himself this Elder Treant, but Dark Potato's there to threaten as well, and neither really want to fight over this. It's a little bit too risky, especially with Hundor moving on down. It means that G2 have the power to just be able to secure this. Joker will have to try and steal with an on point. And once more, Dark Potato uses his Afterburn to prevent that from happening. So great coordination coming out from G2 once more to secure a second Elder Tree. And it's just little advantages like that to try and get Hundor's Celeste to a even quicker late game point.
Yeah, and I definitely like the full team rotation in to pick up all of that farm. As you know, yes, there is a little bit of diminishing return, but you secure it, and with the changes in 2.8, it's a little bit more valuable, and you get Hundor online faster.
So we'll have to see how SaltyPotatoes are able to really threaten Hundor. Currently, the Joker looking to try and finish that Shattered Glass, but has got himself an extra crystal bit just for a bit of extra damage. Hundor, first item is the Frostburn, which can really slow down SaltyPotatoes' aggression here. The change to Blackfeather in 2.7, I believe it was, that removed his movement speed whenever he uses his A onto an enemy. His allies will gain a movement speed buff via the Rose Trail. That's no longer a thing. Now, SaltyPotatoes, with this Blackfeather, they more prioritize slowing via on point. That's how they get onto people. And if Hundor's able to outrange the Joker, then that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, especially as the game goes on. But in the moment, it's just been G2 playing very, very safe, looking for their opportunity to strike. Where SaltyPotatoes, they're kind of poking and prodding, looking for cracks in the defense of G2, and G2 is just not even considering, stepping up and giving them the opportunity. They're more than happy to farm out the jungle, send Hundor with Dark Potato to pick up that extra experience and gold. And, Keanu Nakoa, he is falling a little bit behind in terms of experience, but that's only because his two teammates are accelerating so much further forward.
Items being completed now. You see Sneaky with the Sorrow Blade. First item. Very exciting seeing the diversity in Vox's builds here in 2.8. Shadowglass just finished as well for Joker's Black Feather. Now his on point's going to be doing a little bit more damage. He's currently sitting on level 7, just one away from upgrading the range on his on point. Same could be said for Hundor and his Helo Genesis. However, considering the fact that the Joker is in the jungle, Hundor is in the lane, and you get more experience from jungle camps than you do lane creeps, then it's very likely Joker will hit his level 8 just a little bit before.
And now we've got Joker kind of sneaking around the top side of this lane, really just looking for an opening. And it's very difficult now that we're seeing, this new Finn, this new Finn skin, Finn in 2.8. Just all of this value on being able to just position so much further forward and kind of be this pillar that your opponents have to go through. It's almost as if he is just a bit of impassable terrain that you have to deal with if you're the Joker. And the Joker just has to look for those odd angles to land those on points, and Hunter is just not going to give him the opportunity.
This is actually really interesting. This is something that G2 kind of popularized, is they're hyper farming Hundor. All of the jungle last hits went to him, which meant that he was able to get level 8 just before Joker and accelerate towards that extended range on the Helo Genesis. Back in the spring season, when Baron was super impactful for Hundor, this was a strategy G2 used consistently here, Source, to make sure that Hundor was continuously hyper farming, getting towards his 4 damage weapon power build quickly. But even more impactful here is the fact that the experience means that Hundor has hit level 8 before the Joker here, and so isn't really threatened by the increased range on the on point. This pause kind of just gives us a bit of a window to kind of look at the stage of the game, because we are killless at 7 minutes 17 seconds at the moment, but gold's pretty even.
Yeah, and the fact that that experience has gone over to Hundo there and has reached that kind of range point means that the opportunity for the Joker to just kind of abuse them and land those really good on points has kind of been removed. So now you have to think, where is the next opportunity for SaltyPotatoes to really find a fight? And for the moment, it looks as if G2's not going to offer them any windows into getting the game rolling in their favor, which seems to be what they need, because there's just all of this defense, all of this crowd control for G2.
So we have paused due to one of the players disconnecting from the Halcyon Fold, so giving them a bit of an opportunity to secure their connection here. And the Vainglory, it is a player's responsibility to ultimately secure their connection, but of course we're not going to punish them when they cannot move their hero. Let's look at the items real quick in everyone's inventories. Hundor's just finished his Eve of Harvest, got the energy battery in his inventory, which indicates he'll be going towards a Clockwork as his 3rd item. Sneaky, it's very hard to say where he's going with this build. Very likely going to be a attack speed item next, likely a Poison Shiv or a Breaking Point. Dark Potato, heavy steel in his inventory, says that he's going towards a Breaking Point himself as well. And these captains as well, fairly evenly matched. Clast has his reflex block for the Crucible, which he will need against Keanu Nakoa's Finn. The Forced Accord, of course, can be very impactful in fights. Keanu Nakoa, I'll be interested to see if he goes towards a Crucible, if he just prioritizes something else instead. Perhaps the armor, so we can provide that through Polite Company, or a utility item such as Null Wave, or even an Echo, so that he can get double quibbles off and provide more CC in teamfights.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to see Keanu Nakoa go for that Echo, but we are back into game. And yeah, the need for a Crucible really isn't there. The amount of crowd control from the side of SaltyPotatoes is pretty low. You've got some slows and the silence off of the wait for it. Maybe you take a Crucible just for that in class. He's gonna walk into the bush.
Oh, he does, but he's able to escape through the Arkham Passage. It also provides a convenient route for SaltyPotatoes to join him under the turret. Look at the damage Hundle's outputting and the range he has on this Hilo Genesis. At level 8, it just becomes so obnoxious to deal with. This is exactly what G2 are looking to do. Kiana Nakoa, Dark Potato moving forward. There's the pull coming in, Sneaky, able to escape. Joker uses that Rose offensive to escape as well. Dark Potato is just lurking and waiting for an opportunity. When Hundle lands a Hilo Genesis, it slows with the Frostburn, and that just makes Dark Potato's life so easy. And with such a beefy frontline here, G2 can just allow Hundle the opportunities to stack up a minefield with this Hilo Genesis.
That was a really good on point from the Joker. Got through 2 targets, didn't take any damage in return. There is still opportunity for SaltyPotatoes to find that fight, but it does get harder and harder as the members of G2 push in, and Sneaky is very, very low.
Oh, no. Just straight up dead. Dark Potato finds first blood. Hundle in a little bit of trouble, but I think Joker may have bit off more than he can chew. Trying to find the fight, but he can't. Core collapse in a Hilo Genesis will secure the kill. Now it's Class last man standing. Dark Potato just pushing him away from the turret so G2 can secure it themselves. And this is where things start to snowball here, Source. I think for G2, you'll see Hundle go back and complete that clockwork. Now he has become a very obnoxious Celeste, spamming that Hilo Genesis on just a second cooldown and making supernovas at will.
Dark Potato looking for that first damage. Looks like he's going for a Sorrow Blade instead of that breaking point. Kiana Nakoa in that last fight had a great polite company, plus the fountain just gave him just enough health to keep Hundor alive. And now Hundor is starting to reach that devastating point of continuous and pretty much endless damage you can see out of Celeste. And really, the Joker, it looked like he was going to be able to find that initial kill, but it's just getting really, really difficult unless they can get huge sigils in to keep them alive. Class dukes out that polite company, but that could be devastating.
Yeah, certainly can, and it's so difficult with the Frostburn on the Hilo Genesis. It allows for G2 to have so much chase potential. Kiana Nakoa to be able to position Quibbles. He's getting to a point where he's almost overdriven that Quibble, only a level away from doing so. Dark Potato now looking for that Sorrow Blade, like you mentioned, will have so much burst potential onto anyone who does get caught out. Hundor in this position where he can just kind of control the battlefield, and this is why I wanted to see double weapon power from SaltyPotatoes, because it seems like it's the only thing that's going to take down Hundor is a double weapon power, so Joker can be impactful in team fights. However, a split comes out of G2, silence onto Kiana Nakoa. He's going to be okay for now, and look at that, Hundor just pushes back SaltyPotatoes.
Yeah, and besides SaltyPotatoes, they don't have a huge amount of team fight ultimates. Nothing really big, nothing really wombo-y. You know, the arcane passage is nice, and they're actually going to use it. They're going to go in.
Yeah, trying to find a kill, but they just get blown up in the process. Joker gonna lose his life as well. Hundle surviving. Sneaky though will find a kill, but a final core collapse. A final message from Hundle is that you're dead, and it's a double kill for Dark Potato. The ace comes through for G2, and they're gonna reward themselves with a gold miner.
SaltyPotatoes look for the play and are punished for their aggression with an instant polite company into, I want to say it was a 2-man core collapse. It's just so much damage and crowd control coming up from the side of G2. It's difficult for the Joker to maneuver. It's difficult for Class to survive through the amount of damage, even though they built up, you know, some health, some defenses. It's not really there yet. You wouldn't really say the Class is much of a tank. And it's getting harder and harder for the side of SaltyPotatoes to survive through these fights. Yes, they managed to chase onto Hundor and pick up that kill, but it cost them everything.
Certainly did, and now the gold lead has been extenuated here for G2. 3,000. Hundor sitting just 600 gold away from hitting his broken myth, his 4th damage item. And if team fights are allowed to be established by Hundor stacking up with that broken myth before it goes out, then any dive SaltyPotatoes make will be met with instant regret as Hundor blows them up with a core collapse supernova combination. Currently, G2 just trying to get Hundor towards that final item, just 200 gold away at this point. Have to wonder, SaltyPotatoes perhaps have just let the ball slip here. Force a cord, pull Sneaky in. He's going to block. Gets stunned on up. Good patience. Now Hundle though has to back away. Joker trying to take down Dark Potato, but he's going to disengage. There it is. The damage being just blowing up the roster of SaltyPotatoes. Joker finds one but will fall. Looks like that might just be the trade. that SaltyPotatoes will take. Bit of lacking of decision making, it seems, from G2 on who to focus in that team fight, and allow SaltyPotatoes to get at least one back in their midst.
Yeah, that was the most even team fight we've seen. SaltyPotatoes was able to kite back to that initial combo. The Polite Company and Force the Cord combo didn't finish off Sneaky. And that on its own is fairly telling of how the fights are going to go. If they don't manage to get that initial CC combo down onto a target, it is possible that Sneaky is going to manage to survive through these fights. Has built up the Aegis, has a little bit of armor, looks to be going towards what I assume is going to be a breaking point. If Sneaky survives and is able to kite around the sides of the team fight, they may actually be able to cut through the damage, or cut through the defenses of Dark Potato, because he's building up some of those defenses now, but didn't really have a lot of them before. Hundor is incredibly squishy and easy to pick off. Maybe SaltyPotatoes can find a way back into this game, but a lot of it's going to be on the back of Sneaky to either reflex block out that Force the Cord, or to dodge it outright.
Yeah, sure. He's got himself that piercing spear, so maybe going towards a tension bow or a bone saw, depends on what he prioritizes, either burst or sustained damage here. Hundor's got that broken myth though, and now look at him start to stack it up. Dark Potato knocks Joker, half HP but healed up by 500. Due to class sigil here. Now G2 just looking to try and set up the battlefield once more. We're just 45 seconds away from the Kraken joining us on the Halcyon Fold. Looks like an engage going to come through from SaltyPotatoes, but a huge quibble stops them. Look at the damage! The blow-up comes through from Hundor, the Solar Storm, and Joker trying to escape. Sneaky doing a bit of work to Kiana Nakoa, and it looks like he will just about escape that Forced Accord. G2's target focus slightly lacking in these last couple team fights, but they should be able to pick up this gold miner as a reward nonetheless.
So fighting your opponent in the bush is difficult. You're fighting into darkness, no vision. But you're arcane portaling into, you're going straight into that bush as a team. They know where you're going to show up. They can see where that ability is going to end. And that on its own is just allowing Kiana Nakoa to just set up quibble after quibble and get, at minimum 2 targets.
Very difficult task, it seems, for SaltyPotatoes to dive on in. If they're just going to be met by a core collapse or a quibble every time, the CC lock that G2 has is huge, and if Kiana Nakoa was able to find himself an Echo in this build as his last item, then a double quibble could just destroy SaltyPotatoes outright. Has that contraption, increased cooldown reduction as well as vision, and look at the vision that already G2 have set up. They know exactly where SaltyPotatoes could flank them from. Really the only way I think that SaltyPotatoes find an outright team fight win is via surprise onto Hundor.
That huge damage that Hundor just put out onto the Joker. Yes, it was healed up, but that was 2 very quick heliogenesis in the supernova. That is so much damage to be just landing very, very quickly and pretty much outside, most people's ranges from Hundor. It's gonna get even harder for the Joker to want to feel confident engaging, because defensive item wise, they're really not there. Yes, there's some shields, but there's a little bit of armor, and so much damage.
I love it. G2 just go, yeah, we're gonna start the Kraken. We know you're here, but you have to come through us. What was that? A portal from Clast? I'm not entirely sure what it achieved. SaltyPotatoes looking to contest this Kraken, but a double pull in. They managed to escape with a great Crucible, but the damage is coming out from Hunter. 1-2, it's a double, and it's only Sneaky left alive. G2 have destroyed SaltyPotatoes once more, and they just cannot stop Hundor's reign of power. This Witch on the Halcyon Fold brewing destruction for these SaltyPotatoes.
They managed to survive the Force the Cord Quibble combo. It doesn't instantly connect. And then there's just a Solar Storm that absolutely obliterates them. I don't know how SaltyPotatoes make it back into this if they don't instantly kill Hundor. So they can't be getting engaged on. And every time they've used Arcane Passage to make a play in, Kiana Nakoa is waiting at the end of that portal, saying there's only one place you can show up, I will be there. So they either need to make a play happen from an odd angle, or they need to come up with a whole new way to engage on the Hundor, because the current strategy isn't working, and they've just been giving up teamfight after teamfight.
Celeste seeming to become one of the strongest on this update 2.8. Look at the damage, the power, the control she currently has over the Halcyon Fold, and that Vein Crystal, the choke point turret stands no chance. G2, 2 turrets for their efforts so far. Just trying to poke out, but don't want to overextend their welcome. We'll move back. 5,000 gold in the lead at this point, 9 kills as well, and 3 turrets ahead of their opponents. Like you mentioned, the only way that SaltyPotatoes seemingly can win a teamfight is if they take down Hundor immediately, but their current setup just doesn't allow them to do so.
Yeah, and G2 backing out there is a good call, because despite, SaltyPotatoes not really winning the team fights, not being able to win the team fight, their defensive items aren't there, but their damage is. An overcommitment by Hundor, putting himself in a bad position, the Joker could turn things around and make something happen. If Sneaky survives the team fight long enough, there's potential for him to cut through some of those defenses on the side of G2. But G2 have consolidated their power, they're grouping up again, and they are not going to allow the side of SaltyPotatoes to find that opportune team fight. Huge damage on the Joker.
Yeah, currently that Broken Myth starting to get a couple of stacks to its name. It really is that Broken Myth that is dictating whether or not G2 feel welcome to engage the fight. Hundor at this 19th minute mark finishes his Halcyon charges and completes his full build. Now in a choke point, looks like G2 may start to push forward. Kiana Nakoa, energy battery turned void battery in his inventory. He's going for that echo. Once he has the gold for it, it could just turn team fights from destructive to disastrous for SaltyPotatoes.
Yeah, and although this is definitely the game of Hundor dishing out the damage down Celeste, I give a lot of props to Kiana Nakoa for just how well these forced accords have been, how many quibbles have shut down the hard engagements onto Hundor, how many setups there have been to let those core collapses go, and that faked core collapse right where the target was going to be. That is good teamwork from the side of G2 to just be like, yeah, no, I believe that you're going to land it. He didn't, but at least the faith was there.
Yeah, for sure. It's that knowledge and coordination that you're going to be able to back up, and that means that the quibble could have came down after the core collapse. Knowing which CC they're going to chain. Here's another engage, is classed on the backline. Joker comes on in. Hundor looking healthy enough at the moment, but can Sneaky lay down the damage? He boosts away, core collapse out, and there's the Solar Storm coming on through, looking to set up the battlefield. Sneaky trying to find Dark Potato as we speak. There's a lot of healing, but there is so much damage coming out of Hundor. One kill to him, looking for a second onto Class. There's the kill onto Sneaky. Dark Potato secures it, and the Kraken is going to be G2's once more. Class can't do anything about it. He will be forced to just listen to the roar of this Kraken. Kiana Nakoa has completed his echo as well, and now it is just one more push for G2 that separates them from winning this series.
I feel so bad for the Joker. He juked out the Supernova only to get tapped on the nose by the Kraken to finish him off. And now the Kraken will push down. It looks like G2 should be able to pick up this game. They've got minions with them. We'll start onto these Vein Crystal turrets. And, I mean, just an impressive showing for them. It's not over yet, but it doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't. Hundor just laying down the hurt. Hundor, can he just do it? Or is the question? Kiana Nakoa is certainly going to make that easier. Another block comes through, but there's the second force accord, and Sneaky's pulled in. He's in so much trouble. Look at the damage. Almost dead he is. And it's going to be Kiana Nakoa to pick up the kill with a quibble. It's this Vein Crystal turret being taken on down. G2 know they've won it, and SaltyPotatoes will do their best to prevent the game going. But Kiana Nakoa is just playing with his food, and Hundor will finish the game. The CP Celeste is just too strong, and teams are going to have to figure out how to counter it.
Yep, Celeste picked into the Black Feather, into what could have been a disadvantageous matchup, but it was a CP Black Feather into the jungle. The slightly different composition coming out from SaltyPotatoes. A good effort. They weren't able to secure the win.